So what happens when there's a breakdown in decoding? A telltale sign would certainly be difficulty with reading comprehension. It might also appear like a child is guessing a word by using its first letter to infer the rest of the word and make a resulting mistake. They might also make tracking errors, where they're trying to sound out a word but they're not reading the word from left to right and so mix up the letters. Or they might confuse similar looking letters like D for B. A more serious consequence of a breakdown in decoding is developmental dyslexia. Dyslexia is when a child has weak reading skills despite normal intelligence in other areas, even when they've had the same opportunities and instruction to learn to read as other kids. Research tells us that at the root of many cases of dyslexia is an impairment in sound processing, including phonemic awareness. Remember the left superior temporal sulcus I mentioned earlier that was so important for phonemic awareness? Imaging studies have shown that activity in this area of the brain is much lower in many children with dyslexia. If a child struggles to identify, blend together, or segment the sounds of words they hear, those sound-letter relationships required for decoding will almost certainly fall short. We see this in particular when a child with dyslexia is shown a non-existent word, or a string of letters that could be a word but really isn't. Because they can't rely on common clues to identify words, such as inferring or guessing from features of the word, the context of the word, or pictures associated with it, they need to rely only on their ability to decode that word. This is where someone with dyslexia would typically struggle. For a lot of kids struggling with reading, providing a lot of fun, motivating practice and instruction with decoding will go miles in helping them become fluent, efficient readers. However, some students with more serious reading difficulties will need specialized instruction and guidance from special education teachers or speech-language pathologists in order to progress through the stages of reading development. Some of these strategies might include building the foundations of letter-sound relationships, or phonics, including phonemic awareness and letter familiarity. Building a child's vocabulary and oral or spoken language skills. Because for a child to be able to read words fluently, they also need to be familiar with the word as they know it in its spoken form. By building their vocabulary of words, their ability to read and comprehend what they're reading will grow. Teach common word parts and spelling patterns. Word parts are those strings of letters that can be thought of as units in many different words, such as at, l, ik, or op. Helping students recognize these word units will help students become more efficient decoders and also build their vocabulary. Teaching, showing, and providing practice of a decoding strategy. That might look something like this. Look at the letters from left to right. As you look at the letters, think about the sounds those letters make. Blend the sounds together and look for word parts you know. And then ask yourself, do I know this word? Does it make sense to what I'm reading? If you suspect that your child or a child in your class is struggling with reading and decoding, it's a great idea to talk with a speech-language pathologist who can provide assessment and appropriate treatment if it's needed.
Created using PowToon.